Hi there, welcome to the second part of this course, which is called Master Excel Formulas, Make the Leap to the Next Level. I hope you enjoyed the first part, and I hope you're ready to go through another set of formulas here in this second part. So without wasting any more time, let's start first of all with the quote of the day for this second part of the course, and it states, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out," and that is so true. You have heard this everywhere really, that everything that is actually worth having, worth knowing, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency of this effort as well, so you have to repeat it every day. So the first set of formulas, they have to do with the count group of formulas. However, these two formulas are slightly different compared to what we went through in the first part of the course. So count A and count blank. So as you can see, count A is used to count the number of cells in a range that are not empty, whereas the count blank formula counts the number of blank cells in a range. And the structure of these two formulas is pretty similar. It's actually the same. All you have to do is actually enter the range in which you want to count the specific number of cells that have values or that are empty. Let me give you an example of these two formulas being used, and going to the spreadsheet again. Now what I want to do, I want to count the number of cells in this range that are not empty. So I start typing the count A formula, and I need to go and select the range, of course, and this is what happens once you press enter. So in this range here we have 4 cells that are not empty, and as you can see, this is true as well. Now let's count the blank cells in that same range really, to see what we are going to get, and enter again. So as you can see, we have 3 empty cells in this range, which is again true. Okay, now going back to the presentation, the second set of formulas here is left, right and mid. These formulas have to do with extracting a specific number of characters from a range, from a cell. Okay, so the left formula returns the first n number of characters, or spaces of course, in a cell in the left to right order. Okay, the structure of the formula is, first we need to enter the cell, and after that we need to specify how many characters we need to extract from that cell. The right formula is the opposite of the left formula. It starts from the right and it goes to left really, and again the structure is pretty similar. Okay, so you need to have the cell and then the number of characters, and then the mid formula returns n number of characters in a left to right order, starting from a user specified point. Okay, so as you can see, the structure of the formula here is, we need the cell again, we need the starting point, and we need the number of characters. Now if I go back to the spreadsheet here, let's see what we have in this example. So here I need to get from this cell, I need to get the first 4 characters or spaces using the left formula, and doing that I get this. Okay, so as you can see, the first 4 characters is the word have. Okay, now if I go and do the right formula here and take the first 8 from right to left, again the same cell. Okay, this is what we're going to get. Good day. Okay, again, as you can see, good day has exactly 7 letters, but it also has 1 empty space between good and day. Okay, so that's why we have 8 extracted characters here. Now the mid formula, we can use it by doing, well, highlighting the cell that we need, and after that let's start at character 8 or space 8 and then go for 5 characters there. So 5 characters should be extracted in a left to right order, starting from character number 8 or space number 8. Okay, so this is what we get. We get good. So if I what this means basically is that starting from character number 8, we have have is 4 characters, then empty space, that's 5, A is 6, empty is 7, and then start from good, which basically means that we have extracted 5 characters. So good and the empty space between good and day is included in this result here. Okay, so the next set of formulas, or the next formula here, is the len formula. It purely returns the length of a text string. Okay, so just to give you an example again, it's a very straightforward formula, of course. Now the example is here, and if I use the len function here, I'm going to get 4. So half is exactly 4 characters. Okay, there's no empty space there, so that's why it returns 4. Now I can go and copy this formula everywhere. Okay, now, and this is what we get. Okay, days 3, 1, 5, exception is 11. So as you can see, exception has 8 characters really, but because there are a few empty spaces as well, they have been counted, and that's why the formula returns 11. Okay, now going back to the presentation, the next 2 formulas we have, days and network days. These 2 formulas are quite useful. Okay, so when are they used? Days is used to return the difference between 2 specific dates. So the structure of the formula suggests that we start with the end date and then we enter the start date as well, whereas network days returns the number of working days between 2 dates. The user, of course, can include any holidays besides the weekends, of course. So the holidays here, the holidays part is optional, so that's why I've put that in squared brackets. Okay, so let me give you an example of this as well. So if I go to the example for these formulas, we have the example for days here. Okay, so I am going to start typing the formula. Now the end date here for me is 30th of July, whereas the start date is 17th of July, and what I'm going to get is 13. Okay, so if I were to type the formula again and start with the start date and then the end date, this is what I am going to get. Okay, we get minus 13. Okay, so that's why we need to start with the end date first. Network days. So again, we have 2 dates, and we need to find the number of working days between these 2 date. Okay, so the start date here is in F16, the end date is in F17. Okay, I'm not going to use any holidays, so I'm just going to close the brackets now, and what we get is we have 5 working days between these two dates. Okay, so as you can see, there are in total 7 days here, in this period between 20th of September 2019 and 26th of September 2019, but 2 of these days are actually weekend. Okay, now the next set of formulas are SQRT and SQRT pi. SQRT is a very often used function. It is used to return the square root of a number. The structure is you purely have to type in the formula and then enter a number inside the brackets, whereas SQRT pi does return the square root of a number, but before giving you the final outcome, it actually multiplies it by pi. Pi is obviously 3.14. The approximate value of pi is 3.14. Okay, and the structure is the same as the SQRT number. Okay, now to give you an example of this, let's just go to the spreadsheet again. Now what we have here is this. Now if I wanted to use the SQRT, I'll just type in the function and then enter the number on the range here. Okay, so the square root of 4 is actually 2. Okay, we can obviously just remove the numbers after the decimal point. Okay, and what we get is the integer number here. Okay, now if I just copy the formula in the other 2 cells as well, what I get is 1.77 is the square root of 3.14, and 354 is the square root of 1256. Okay, now what I want to do now is use the SQRT pi. Okay, so if I use the SQRT pi here for 12.56, what I'm going to get is 6.28. So how does this work? The way this formula works is, first of all, it is going to multiply 12.56 times 3.14. Okay, and then this is what we get. Okay, and then it is going to give us the square root of this number here, and this is what we get, 628. Right, now just to go back to the presentation now, the next set of formulas, or it is only one again, so it is the absolute formula, or the ABS. It returns the absolute reference of a number. So what does this mean really? Once I give you the example, it will become quite clear how this formula works and what it does exactly. So if I just scroll down here to go to this example, so as you can see, we have a range of positive and negative numbers. The absolute formula, or the ABS formula, is going to give us the absolute reference, which basically means that the sign of the number will be removed and there's going to be only one number left. As you can see, the absolute reference of -2 is 2. Okay, this is quite a mathematical formula, but it can serve you quite well when you're obviously doing analysis, just to convert numbers from let's say negative to positive. So this is what we get here. So as you can see, the positive numbers 7 and 9, obviously they don't have any sign again, but like the results here are actually all absolute references, which basically means numbers without any signs really. Okay, now just want to go back to the presentation now again and show you the next two formulas. These are now and today. They're very frequently used, especially the today formula. So the today formula returns today's date, whereas the now formula returns today's date and the current time. Okay, so as you can see, both formulas they do not take any arguments inside the brackets, so all you have to do really is type in the formulas in the cells, and you're going to get an answer. So let's do that now then. Okay, so now if I use the now formula, this is what I get. Okay, so it's the 1st of March 2019, 8:26 in the morning. Whereas the today formula is going to give me just the date. The date is 1st of March 2019. Okay, now I used the European format of dates. Okay, so just if you're from America, for example, from the United States, you have it a little bit different there. But again, the whole point here is just to show you how these two functions really work. Right. Going back again to the presentation, we have another three formulas here, which are one of the most frequently used again. So round, round up, round down. Okay. So what do they do? Round, it rounds a number to the nth specified decimal really. Okay, and it rounds up or down at 0.5. I'll show you what this means. So I just want to explain the round up and round down as well. Okay, round up, it does the rounding, but in closest to, let's say, the the next kind of like highest number, the next number that is obviously like after the specified number, depending on how many decimal points you want to leave or you want to round this up to anyway. And the round down, it rounds down the highlighted number to the nth specified decimal. So let me show you an example of this as well. Now going here, we have basically the same number, and I'm going to use the three different formulas here. Okay, so if I use round of 3.79, and I don't want any numbers after the decimal point. Okay, so sorry, I just need to use the semicolon again, and if I do this, I will get 4. Right. Now if I use the round up function, I'm going to get I need to specify here 0. Okay, I'm going to get 4 again, whereas the round down formula will show me 3 in this case, because I'm going to have 0 numbers after the decimal point. Okay, this the end result 443. Right, if we had 3.49 for example, and then we use the round formula, this would give us 3 instead of 4, because as I said earlier, the round formula, it rounds up or down based on whether it's bigger or obviously smaller, or higher or lower than 0.5. Right. Okay, so if I go back to the presentation now again, the next two formulas we have, they're quite famous in Excel really, and they're a must know really. The index and match, and of course the combination of these two formulas, the index match formula. Right, the index formula, it is going to return the nth index value in a specific array. Okay. I'll show you what I mean by that, but I just want to explain first of all the structure. So we need to have the array and then the row number, and then if we want the column number as well. Okay, then the match function returns the array index of a value. So we need to specify first of all the value, and then the array in which we need to look for that value, and then the match type is either 0 or 1. So 0 is going to give us the exact match, whereas 1 is going to give us an approximate match. The index match formula, it is used to get the value in the JSON array to the array in which a value is actually looked up in. Okay, this is how it looks. We start with the index formula, we specify the lookup array, okay, and then we need to get basically the array index from the match formula here, okay, in order for our index formula to work after that. I'll show you what I mean after I give you examples for these formulas, okay. And now if I just scroll down again, so here's what I have. So as you can see, we have two arrays here, two ranges, right? Okay, the first range is full of names, and the second range is full of numbers, be that age, whatever, doesn't matter. Now, what we're going to do is use the index formula. Excuse me. So the index formula is used in this way, right? Now, if I were to select this array here, okay, and if I wanted to get the second value in the array, this is what I do. I'm going to get this name, Tyra, for example, okay. Now, if I go and use the match formula, I need to specify what I'm actually looking for first of all. So let's say I'm looking for Brian. I need to type in Brian in double quotes, okay. Now I need to specify the range. So again, I need to use the semicolon. So if I specify the range on the array here, and then I need 0, okay, because I'm looking for an exact match. Now this is going to give me 5, which basically means that Brian is actually located in the 5th cell here, okay, starting from C33. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is Brian. Okay, now the combination of these two formulas is very interesting. Okay, so and it is very widely used. Now what I need is, first of all, I need to specify the array from which I need to get the end result, okay, and this is going to be D33 to D40. I can just use the F4 to fix the range, okay, and after that I will use the match formula. So what we need now is we can try and identify the index of, let's say, every single name here, okay. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to select the first name here, okay. I'm not going to make it fixed, okay, and then I'm going to select a range as well. So the range is going to be, in this case, C33 to C40. Again, make it fixed, okay, and now we need to add 0 and then close the match function, and then close the index function as well. So this is what we're going to get. Just 1 second as I fused the obviously the comma again instead of the semicolon. Now if I do this, we get 35. Okay, so what this means is that we can use the index match formula in a very similar way as the VLOOKUP, okay? But we can also use this index match in ways that the VLOOKUP formula cannot be used. But let me just first of all show you all the results here that we can get. Okay, so this is what we get. Using the VLOOKUP function will give us the same answers here, the same outcome. Okay, but the index formula can be, the index match formula, apologies, it can be used in the opposite order. So for example, what we can do is we want to let's say get results in from this array here. Okay, now this is the array we want to get the final outcome from, and now what we need to do is we need to start obviously identifying which indices we need to kind of like, you know, find in the second array here. Okay, now this is D33 and we want that in the range, we want to find that in D33 to D40 again. Okay, now let's make this fixed and add 0, close the formula. So this is what we get. Now, as you can see, we get the names based on the numbers or the age in the second column here. Okay, now if I type in the formula in all the other cells as well, this is what we get. We get the names. Okay, so now as you can see, we have used index match in a way in which VLOOKUP cannot be used. Okay, right, now let me just go back to the presentation and show you the next two formulas that we have here, week num and week day. So very frequently used formulas and very useful as well. The week num formula returns the week number of a specific date, whereas the weekday formula returns the number of day in the week. So what we need in terms of the structure is it's basically pretty similar. Okay, the week num and weekday, they both need a date to be entered from a specific cell, for example, and then a return type. You will see what I mean by return type in the examples that I am going to give you now. So this is the spreadsheet with the examples. So the week number, as you can see, we have a date here. Okay, that's 12th of December 2016. Now, if we want to get the week here from this date, we can use the week num function, and then after that, this is the return type really that we can actually choose. Obviously from there, quite a few options. So if I just press 1, for example, it is going to start, you know, the counting of the weeks from a Sunday, which I don't want. So that's why I can actually just go and do Monday. But as you can see, there's also 21 Monday here as well. Now, what this option means, 21, it means that it includes week 53 as well. So I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to select the 21, that option. Okay, so this is what I get. So you can see this is week 50. 12th of December 2016 is week 50 from obviously that year, of course. Now the weekday is pretty similar. Now I can just go select the date again and then the return type. So as you can see, there are quite a few options again, and I can select, like, you know, one of many options really. Now I want to select Monday through Sunday, so I can go, let's say, week 2 in this case. and this is what I'm going to get, which basically means that 12th of December 2016 was a Monday, really. Okay, now going back to the presentation, as you can see, this is the end of the second part of this course, and again I want to leave you with the same quote as obviously at the end of the first part of the course: repetition is the mother of learning. I have left this quote here for a second time because I just wanted to emphasize on how important it is for you to repeat obviously the things, go over the things that we have discussed in this second part, and even in the first part as well, if you do not understand something. And again, as usual, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me using the comment section of this course. Right. Again, have a good day, or have a good evening, and I'll see you in the third part of this course.